Welcome to the weekly share of the Zera Shimshon, especially for my family and friends. It's not a big deal, but it's something I love to share with you. So this week is going to be short because it's Erev Shabbos and it's getting close to lighting time. So I know probably you won't be able to listen to it today, but Mitzvah Shabbos, there's always something there you don't have what to do. So today is Parshas Metzora. It's Zion Nisan Tavshin Pei Beis. It's Hashem. We should have a Geula Shlema B'Mheira B'Yameinu. This is Shabbos Hagadol as well. Okay, so this little piece is called "When the Light of Wisdom Disappears." Okay. Bo Asher Habayis Behigi. He comes into the one who the house belongs to, Behigi L'Koyin, and the owner of the house declares to the Koyin, Lamor, and says, Kenega nir'o li baboyis. It's a pasuk in Yudalid, you can see it for yourself. It says declares to the Kohen, something like an affliction has appeared to me in the house. Now we learn a lot of halachas from this one word, nir'o li, or those two words. There is a tradition that the Torah and the Nach use the words nir'o li appeared to me only on two occasions. We find it being used here by Metzoras of the house, and we find it being used in the Yirmiyahu 31:2, where it states, Hashem appeared to me from afar. When the Torah and the Nach use certain words or a key phrase very infrequently, then we are taught that there is a connection between them. Here too, both usages of the words appeared to me, near Ali, are coming to teach us a lesson. Zera Shimshon explains that Targum Onkelos interprets the word Metzora as Sigira. Sigira means closed in, closed off from spirituality. As all the spiritual illumination from on high is closed off to the individual who has been afflicted with Tsaras. We find a similar idea expressed in the Sefer Eitz Chaim, the Shar Rachel Leleah. It states that the main element of the Tsaras affliction is that the person has lost all of his lights of wisdom. By the way, the Eitz Chaim is written by the Reb Chaim Vital, who learned it from the holy Arizal, Zecher Tzadik V'Kodesh U'Rachel. Keeping this in mind, we can understand why a Metzora is considered like a dead person. The Gemara says in the Dorim, we know that when a person passes on, the great spiritual light that he possesses while alive leaves his soul. And since the Metzora has lost his spiritual light, he is considered like a person who is no longer alive. The Gemara says that people who are afflicted with Tsaras on account of having spoken Lashon Hara, it's one of the 7 reasons in our Gemara in Arachim in 15b. We also find that when David HaMelech heard that people in his generation were speaking Lashon Hara, he said, "Be exalted upon the heavens, Hashem," Tehillim 57, which the Midrash explains means, may the Shekhinah remove itself from their midst. It's a Vayikra Rabbah 26:2. We can now understand what the pasuk from Yirmiyahu, Hashem appeared to me from afar, is coming to hint to us, and its connection to our pasuk in its Parshas Metzora. Why does the pasuk say an affliction has appeared to me? Right? Because Hashem has appeared to me from afar. Hashem has become far from me, and all the spiritual illumination has gone from my life. Hashem is far away from his people because they are guilty of speaking Lashon Hara. This in turn causes all the spiritual lights and illumination to leave a person. This results in an affliction that has appeared to me in the house. The author's note is Zera Shimshon includes this piece in Parshas Tazria, even though the pasuk on which he bases the vort comes from Parshas Metzora. This is part of Zera Shimshon Parshas Tazria Ois Tes. Okay. So he goes on to tell a story, the Segula of the Zera Shimshon. Zach Rosen was shown a direct correlation between a life choice and an injury, to the point where there didn't seem to be any question about how to look at the situation. Sometimes that's just the way things work out. A person is left with no questions at all. One day, Rabbi Yoman Pashkitz ran into a friend who told him that his son had been going out for years with nothing to show for it. things have gotten so dry in Shidduchim, the boys, that not one Shidduch has been read to us in the last 4 months. It so happened that Rabbi Yeoman was holding a copy of the weekly Zer Shimshon newsletter in his hands right at that moment. He handed it to his friend and said, I want you to begin learning Zer Shimshon. Rabbi Yeoman then told him a bunch of stories about people who had saw major Yeshua, stories that he himself had been part of. I have seen many incredible twists in people's lives. Rabbi Yeoman said to his friend, I have seen turnarounds in every area of life, from business to Shalom Bayis to Shidduchim, and I'm talking about boys and girls who are already much older, people who everyone had already given up on. Then they began learning Zer Shimshon, and suddenly they were at their vort, and Shidduchim were amazing. Mamish lechatchila in every way. They talked for a long time, and eventually they departed, each on their own way. 2 hours later, Rabbi Yeoman noticed that he had a message on his phone. He listened to the message and immediately realized that he had been left by his friend he had just been convincing to learn the Zer Shimshon. Now, what could he have said? Rabbi Yeoman, he said, this is Shea Kreuzer, which is a first name, right? He said, please call me as soon as you hear this message. Rabbi Yeoman heard the urgency in his friend's voice and became very nervous. What could have possibly occurred between their phone conversation and now? Rabbi Yeoman wasted no time calling him back. He said, Shia, what's the matter? What's the emergency? Rabbi Yeoman could hear the emotion in his friend's voice as he relayed what had happened. I took the newsletter he gave me, he began, and instead of going directly where I needed to go, I found a spot where I was able to sit down and learn all the Torah in the newsletter then and there. When I finished reading everything in the newsletter, I looked up to the heavens and said the following, Ribono Shel Olam, I am being mikabel on myself right now to begin a regular learning Seder in Zer Shimshon. Then I went home. Half hour later, my phone rang. It was a shadchan calling me with an idea. Okay, it's not a shidduch, but an idea at least. Rabbi Yeoman, for people who get calls from shadchanim on a regular basis, it's not a big deal. But for a person like myself, who hadn't received a call from a shadchan in 4 months, this call was a very big deal. I got off the phone completely shocked by the turn of events. I felt like I had just been receiving, on the receiving end of a sign from Shemayim that my decision to start learning Zer Shimshon was 100% the right way to go. The fact that a shadchan had called me so quickly seemed to be reassuring me that the merit of the holy Rav Shimshon Chaim Nachmani, the author of the Zer Shimshon himself, was going to stand by my side and intercede for me until I saw Yeshua's in my personal life. Rabbi Yeoman, there's no question in my mind that you are right, and there is nothing better for me to do right now than to learn the Chashuvah Sefer that has brought so much Siyata D'Shmaya to Klal Yisrael. I hope to be in touch with you in a happy end of this story. But even without an end, in all honesty, the phone call that came my way so soon after being Mekabel to learn Zer Shimshon was enough. Have a wonderful Shabbos, and not probably, maybe next week I'll give a Zer Shimshon. Be aware that it might not happen, but this week, Baruch Hashem, you got one. Cold tubes, I get mentioned.